Okay, so good afternoon. My name is Michal Rosik. I'm working as a product visionary at Mini.io, and which is a producer of process analytics tool Minute, based on the process mining technologies. And it's coming from Slovakia, and we all, like the rest of the world, have celebrated Easter holidays this weekend. So all about kids and chasing Easter bunnies and Easter eggs. And Slovakia is also a very Christian country, so we also celebrated the resurrection of Jesus Christ, and it's very spiritual. A lot of family reunions, a lot of foods and drinks, very special. But there is a special thing that happens on Monday, and this is men of all ages take whips made of twigs, and they are chasing their wives and girlfriends, and they are whipping them and splashing water from baskets on them, and this is a kind of national tradition, but considered by visitors as a deviant behavior. And we are, of course, seeing many different kinds of deviant behavior right now in the world. So mass murders, terrorist attacks, everything like that. If we look at how deviant is defined, Webster Dictionary defines it as something that is not compliant with what we consider standard, or set of rules that we consider standard, and identifying this behavior or this something. And I think that is very important, is the identification and the standards. And to identify is very important because hidden deviant behavior that is not identified is causing stress, and we don't want to cause stress to our managers and managers in companies. We want them to take yoga classes. So enterprises right now are working at big data factories, and to identify the deviant behavior, you need a solid background, and the background is data. They are producing valuable data, they are producing data in the databases, they are producing also what we call noise data or waste data. These are the traces of processes that are currently stored on the servers, and they are sometimes, by admins used for some processing. And well, the main thing, and I was talking about that when defining deviant, is to find the standard behavior. So first of all, to analyze the process, to find what is important in the noise data, and all the amount of data that is there, and also to enhance the data by modeling a process, so visualizing a process. Looks bad, right? Anyway, calculating statistics, doing metrics, and finding the relationships. Of course, this technology is well known. It's process mining. And how process mining works? Well, because we want to learn from what happened. We are looking at the past, and we're trying to use that knowledge at the present time. But the present time already moved. So it's already late. So we changed mining for monitoring, and when process monitoring, we are looking at what happens right now. Okay, but yeah, that's nice. We see like nice reports, but we cannot learn from past. So we cross process, and we call it deviance monitoring. We are learning from the past. We are using process mining techniques to learn from the past, and we are looking at what happens right now to find that. And it can be compared to sitting in a train with no windows, and then you suddenly have a window, and you are seeing the countryside, but you are seeing a precise moment at time. But you have some past knowledge, like what happened before, and the window is moving slightly. So if you are traveling through a desert, you know that you are traveling through a desert because you have this past knowledge of the windows or the views that you've seen. And if you are seeing an oasis, this is a deviant behavior. You're seeing that in your window, and it can be directly identified. But the second thing that you want to identify is, of course, if you are really seeing an oasis or it is a mirage. And you can do that by also controlling the KPIs. Is the train too fast? Then maybe you do not see oasis. So it is a first step that we think can lead to predictions. To things that we can learn from the past, see the present, and tell what happens in future. Because the artificial intelligence, machine learning is a big hype, and we are now seeing kind of the evaluation of these terms. And I've seen this nice quote about, a tweet. You know this equation, you know what it means. But what it means today is like today's definition, and I will help myself with the paper, is that this is an artificial intelligence bot that can tell you where a line is going. And I think this is a beautiful thing that really is kind of defining the evaluation that we are seeing here. So let's take the first step in a live demonstration. All right, so here we are in Minute, the process analytical tool. I was talking about the data. Data can be entered into Minute from many different sources. We are using the standard file formats, CSV files, XS, MXML. We can connect to databases like SQL Server. You can use any ODBC driver to connect to the systems. Like third-party vendors are producing this kind of ODBC connectors. And we have also some so-called business connectors. So you aim it to a certain system, and Minute already knows what to take out of the system. And there are a lot of BPM vendors here and people dealing with BPM systems. So we see this synergy of process mining of Minute in the pre-BPM era and in the post-BPM era. So also this Deviance monitoring can be used like when you do not have any clue about how your processes in the enterprise work and you do not have them modeled or automated, but you can also use it afterwards. So you have your automated process and you want to see how it behaves if that is something that you are satisfied with. Okay, so we loaded the data. I will not show this, only if there is interest, but it's pretty straightforward. And then we visualize it. And I would like to show like two things, or two processes. I chose a very simple process, not to bother with the complexity, just to focus on important things. So Minute allows you to really visualize the process from the event log data. What we are seeing here is the standard frequency analysis. So the halo effects, the thickness of the lines is showing you the most frequent path in that process. You can click on the activities. It's fully interactive, so you see the details, including the performance analysis and top attributes analysis. So you directly see, like here, this is a purchase order approval process. So for the approvals, you can directly see which human resources are performing this activity mostly. Also, you see this advanced detail, which is showing you something like a decision tree analysis, meaning that it's showing based on a certain attribute from the event log, in this case, a cost center code, which direction from this particular activity is taken for which values of that attribute. And you can, of course, switch it, let's say, to supplier name and see for which suppliers it goes to rejection or approval and so on. Okay, but this is frequency analysis. Of course, Minute is to make the solid base to define the standard for Deviance monitoring. We need to look at the data from many different perspectives to define the standard behavior. So let's see the performance. If the performance is compliant with what we want to see in the final process. So really approving and process order and not the performance really heavy activities. We have problems with delivery confirmation, kind of potential bottleneck here, taking 1 week. There might be many reasons for that, but we are interested about demand for more information. This is something that is causing pain in the company because sometimes the approval is taking longer time because the managers have to ask for more information. So it's taking 23 hours compared to those on average, compared to those activities, it is pretty long time. So if we switch back to the frequency, it's only 13 cases, but we don't want this behavior to be there. Well, let's look at the financial point of view. So many consulting companies like KPMG, Ernst & Young, and so on, they seen the demo and they said, well, yeah, performance is nice, frequency is nice, but you know, we are analyzing based on where the money flows. So this is really where the money flows. This is where the biggest volume of orders is flowing. And you can switch that to a different attribute. So we can look at the cost of particular activities based on the resources or based on one-time costs of performing a certain activity. So you really can identify that on average, the demand for more information is costing you 14K in dollars or euros, and that's pretty much. Okay. Of course, we are seeing here the static information. We want to also see how it behaves in time, so we can run the animation of the process flow, and you can tweak that. You can set many parameters here, but this basically gives you an idea if there are any peaks in that process, or if the values that you've seen in the visualization of the static process are evenly distributed. And we can see that from statistical point of view also in statistics, but the dynamics is giving you this idea. You can see that there is a lot of tasks waiting at the delivery of confirmation or delivery confirmation. Approval is pretty fast, but there are certain moments when it stops, and then it starts again. So let's go to precise statistics, and we'll look at the case overviews. We'll look at how the cases are coming. You can see the pattern. You can see those, why it stops, because it's based on days. So that are weeks. Here, the pause here is Christmas time. So you can see the weeks and Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But there are one-click statistics ready here. You can switch between all the attributes that you want to see. You can look at it from the viewpoint of suppliers. Based on your suppliers, how the utilization is going on, what are the mean durations, maximum durations for certain suppliers. You can see the activity statistics. You can even filter here. So if I want to see how people are performing these activities, I can filter that by resources. Let's say I just select a certain person and confirm that, and I see immediately how this person is performing or how a team is performing from the viewpoint. Okay, so but to define that baseline, so we want to define the KPIs, we want to define the behavior of the process that we consider standard. I have already filtered certain variations, and variations are an important part of the analysis. So we can see here all the variations with the variant dashboard. We can see the flow in this variation, so you can just click on that variation, this variation. We can see that in the first three variations, we have a pretty straightforward flow: approving, process order, deliver confirmation. We have just 2 approvals in the first one. We have 3 approvals in the second one. We have 1 approval in that one. So basically, we are satisfied with that. If we go back to the map, we can highlight those in the map as well. So let's click on these 3. And we can see from the statistical point of view that these 3 variants are covering 90% of our process. And we can see that demand for information is not there. Okay, so we are satisfied with that. And we want to filter that. So let's switch the variant filter. And we'll say here are the 3 variants. Apply that. And we have a nice process. We want to basically monitor this as our deviances. And we have seen that approving on specific level happened at maximum 3 times. We want to see when it happens. Maybe the top management says we want only 2 approvals. We want to make approvals faster. So we set the KPIs to that level. And of course, if you want to also compare the processes, so you have these filtered variations, we can save that as an interactive view. So I call it filtered. And now I can go to the process comparison. I can easily just add a new level, compare it to the original process, so that I see visually like what happens, where are the differences. The coloring scheme is also straightforward. So the green ones happen only in that original process, which is over here, and there are no blue ones, so they're covering. If you want to see the details, of course, it's also there. Top attributes, performance analysis, financial analysis, everything. You can also compare the amounts on particular either activities or paths that is taken. Okay, so we have our process filtered. And now we come to the prototype that I would like to show, so to the monitoring part. So it takes from that, like the backbone of the process or the standard flow, it takes all the activities, it learns from the past, tries to set the KPIs for maximum repetitions and for the mean duration. Of course, we can monitor all the attributes that are available or the calculated attributes that are available and that you have seen in the statistics or process map. But for the prototype, we have chosen this too. And let's say we want to set this to 2, and let's say we want this delivery confirmation. It was 7 days, but I want to monitor if it is, no, that's hours, yeah, 5 days. Okay, and one of the pillars that Minute is built on is a really strong processing power. So we are able to process really millions of events in a very quick time. And this allows us to really do that even on this kind of machines, which are 2.5 years old. So you said start monitoring. And what it does, of course, for the purpose of the demo, we would need to wait like several hours or at least days for some activity to happen. So what we are doing on the background is like kind of generating the events much faster. But you can imagine what it does. So it's generating the events, and we are processing that online in real time. You can work with the application, and it's showing you the completed cases, it's showing you the active cases, showing you how your case duration, the mean duration of that approval process is going on. And you see these 3 activities happening here, if it's exceeded, to how much it's exceeded. And you can take proactive actions to eliminate it. It also shows you like top performers in the area of human resources, how are the people doing on. And we have seen that there is an occurrence of the activity that we set. We don't want to see it in our process. It happened here. You can click on that. It will filter all these attributes so you can see who is doing that. You can switch to supplier state, see in which country it happened, supplier name, so you can see for which supplier this happened, and you can really take immediate action to solve this kind of problem. Okay, and as I said, it's a kind of sliding window. So you see from the window point of view, the activity just disappeared because in the last, let's say, 30 days or how the interval will be set, this did not happen. So you take the actions and then you go again. Okay, so that's for the monitoring. The second thing is basically the same demo, but I want to just show you. We have been talking about robotic process automation. We are working with RPA vendors. We have some technological partners with them, and trying to support them in we think 2 phases. We think that there's synergy between process mining and RPA in two phases. The first one is the analysis phase, the initial phase of identification of either processes that are important for the enterprise or the points in the process which are suitable for robotic process automation. Not from the viewpoint of they are manual, they are repeated and so on, but from the business perspective, if they are costly, if they are kind of bottleneck or potential bottlenecks. But also in the second phase, which is after the implementation of RPA, where we see that, and I think it was already mentioned here that the RPA is currently like doing an automation of tasks. So we are seeing, when discussing with our partners and customers, we are seeing a lot of hybrid processes. So there are some automated tasks, there are some human tasks. And everybody is talking about speeding the process and cutting the costs. But using the robotic process automation might have an impact on people and systems. And basically, if you automate, then suddenly robots are doing some kind of tasks faster. So they make a lot more pressure on either systems from the performance point of view, or they make a lot of pressure on humans, because if there was a team of 10 people producing 10 claims or orders per hour, then the second in the row was okay with that, but suddenly the processes, the robots are producing 50 per hour, and the person is doomed. So process mining can help you oversee the whole process, including the automated and the human flows, and using this kind of monitoring they can monitor. So just to show you, but the problem with RPA and also IoT, which was mentioned here, is that they are producing a lot more data than you have seen right here. So here we have a process with like 50 million events, and it's an anonymized process from kind of IoT system. We can do the same thing. So we can switch off, or I can do that like this. So we will filter, let's say, again, the first variation of the process. And we will see that that's a pretty straightforward process, and we can do the same monitoring for this amount of data. So it will be generating really tens of thousands of data sets. It takes a little while to start processing, but it's the same situation. So you can fluently work with this kind of systems even if millions or billions events are being processed. And the advantage is you don't need that much processing power because this is a Surface 3 with Core i5, 8 gigabits of memory. All right, so I think the important information here is really to be good in setting the standards, and I think the major point is to really try to not to be afraid of the deviant behavior, but just try to identify it as soon as possible and take active actions. Thank you very much.